Got it. Can you guys see my screen?
It says Londiwe has started sharing, started screen sharing, but there's nothing visible.
Hi, boo.
Let's give it some time. Maybe it's taking a long time.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, but okay, let me just start. The two techniques that I chose was the force field analysis and the attribute exploration techniques. So I'll just go through the notes that I've done for the first one, which is the force field analysis in the problem solving process. Can you now see my screen?
Nope.
Not yet.
I
No,
think, yeah.
oh, there we go.
Mepa?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yeah. Can everybody see the screen? Please confirm us.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we can
Yes, I
see.
can.
Go ahead, Londiwe.
Siyabonga, amen. Okay. Okay, I've just pretty much just tried and summarized it the best way that I could and to the best of my understanding. So yeah. So I'm just gonna read it because I don't know if you guys want me to do like a proper presentation where I close my eyes and say whatever. I'm just gonna read. So the what is a force field analysis in the problem solving process? Okay, we use it to identify forces that support, which are the helping forces, or work against, which are restricting forces, the solution of a problem, so that the positives can be reinforced and the negatives can be eliminated. Okay, the technique is used where the problem is visually presented as being in balance between the two forces, which means that there's a sound that is disturbing me. I'm not sure whose sound that is.
Can you go
I
on
think it's
mute?
David.
David, can you mute from your side?
Yes, I can hear you. I have a lot of noise here, so I'd better hear. Otherwise, even the car will be talking.
Okay, yeah, just Nsungelo, go on mute, if at all possible.
Sorry?
Can you mute yourself,
That's
David?
fine.
I can see actually I see everything. It's just that I'm muted.
Okay. All right. So what does the force field analysis do? It presents the positives and negatives so that they can be easily compared. It forces everyone to think together about all the aspects of the desired change, so that it makes it a permanent one. It encourages people to agree about the relevant priority of factors in the balance sheet, which is this here on the right-hand side. And it also encourages an honest reflection on the real underlying issues of a problem and its solution. Okay, how do we create a force field analysis? Okay, there's no system that you can use to create the analysis. You can simply use a flip chart, a whiteboard, or a piece of white paper and a pen if you're using a paper. So a team member draws the horizontal line in the center, which is like this, the center of the flip chart or the whiteboard to indicate the current state of the problem. So that line basically, it indicates the current state of the problem. And then Mepa, can you try and mute someone? I'm not sure who it is. Sounds like David because he's driving.
Yeah, it should be David.
Okay. Anyway, let me continue my read. Okay, so a team member draws a horizontal line in the center of the flip chart or whiteboard to indicate the current state of the problem. So which is this line in the middle here. And then the arrows are drawn upwards from the bottom towards the line in the middle and downwards from the top towards the middle line to indicate forces impacting on the problem. So these are the arrows that are indicating the forces, either the restricting factor forces or the helping one. Okay. The downward arrows depict forces influencing the problem negatively. So those are the restricting factors that they push down on the problem and force it down to the 0 position. And then the helping factors are indicated by arrows pointing upwards, which are those ones, supporting the problem in its current state. And then the team then lists all restricting and helping factors and thereafter evaluates each of the ideas as either restricting or helping the problem. These helping and restricting factors are then prioritized. The force field analysis is used to reformulate the problem.
Sorry, Londiwe. Sorry to interrupt.
Able,
How do I meet everybody again?
Mbali, I'm not sure.
Mbali?
I'm trying to see. Oh, David, can't David just mute himself, guys?
David?
Oh my God, my screen, what happened to my
You
screen?
guys are getting a noise from me.
Yes, we need you to mute.
Well, it was muted, but yeah, let me check first.
Okay, I think that sounds better. Are we good, guys?
Yes, we are good. Continue.
Okay. Okay, where was I? At the end. Okay. Okay, these helping and restricting factors are then prioritized. The force field analysis is used to reformulate a problem. So basically, it explores the problem. This analysis is used to explore the actual problem. And that is done by evaluating the restricting and the helping forces. Okay. And then here on your right-hand side, you see I've put in, you can see that those arrows are not the same. Some are short, some are thick, some are long. So that's how they indicate the severity of the problem by the thickness. If it's too severe, then the arrow will be thick to show that's the one that is more severe. And then also, they also use numerical value. That's when they're indicating the impact of the problem. And I've given an example here. So this is how they indicate the impact of the problem by numbers. And the arrows, it's the severity of the problem. That's when you are checking the severity of the problem. And this is when you are checking the impact of the problem. And then I've just given some recommendation on reading, what you can look at and read for yourselves to get a better understanding, because I'm sure you're not gonna fully understand it from me. But I was just giving an indication of what it's about. Yeah.
Okay, are you done?
I am done.
Oh,
Yes,
all right.
I'm done with the first one.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much, Londiwe.
I will
yeah.
share this. I will email everyone.
Oh, okay. Okay. I suppose now the platform is open for the team to ask questions or comment or yeah.
If they can just comment, it's fine.
Uh-huh. Team, are there any questions?
For now.
We'll give them just a few minutes to think about the questions they might have.
You can email me the questions.
No. Kabelo, go ahead.
Thanks. Is it Mepa?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Mepa. I almost said nosy. Okay. Thanks, Londiwe. May we please go back to your last portion, the last page. Yeah. Yes, I just wanted to understand
Which page?
here. This one is fine. The
Oh.
one of the example.
Mm.
So, so the green means, does the colors mean anything? Do the colors mean anything?
No, the colors don't mean anything. It's only the numbers.
Oh, so if it's higher than the other side, what do we do again? Does it mean we need to now focus on the driving forces?
Yes,
Or-
it means that, yeah, it means that you look at all the restricting forces and then you
Mhm.
eliminate the ones that are severe. And then the ones that are driving forces, then you reinforce them because they are helping
Oh,
the current
okay.
state.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. No, thanks.
okay. Anyone else?
So is the whole point to reach some sort of a balance, or for the driving forces to be a little bit higher than the restricting forces?
I did not read anything that says that they need to balance.
Yeah, okay.
I read it as if you have the driving forces and the restraining forces, that means there's a balance.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't necessarily have to balance on the numbers.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be 41 and 41, or yeah.
It
All right.
doesn't have to?
Okay, no, I understand. Thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good. Thanks. Any more questions? In the absence of more questions, Londiwe, I think should we go to the next participant, or you're going to then share the other technique? Are you ready to share that?
Okay, finish.
Sorry.
Finish, please.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. The next one that I have is the attribute exploration. Okay, in this one it's a technique that focuses on various attributes or components of a system, a product, or a problem. The main purpose of this technique is to explore key attributes of a problem or to generate alternatives to different attributes. It is also ideal if you are looking at improving a product, a system, or a service. It also assists if you are looking at identifying new products or systems. Okay, and then the attributes can be classified into subcategories like physical attributes, social attributes, process attributes, psychological attributes, and price attributes. And then the physical attributes are like shape, form, color, texture, structure, sound, taste, door, space, identity, location. Social attributes, responsibilities, taboos, power, ecological. Process attributes, selling, marketing, production, manufacturing, designing. Psychological attributes, needs, motivation, positive and negative emotions. And then price attribute, production costs, consumer prices, consumer acquisition costs, manufacturing cost, sunk costs. Okay, then I've put in an example of product attributes where I've used a pen. So the attributes of a pen. Attributes, I'm not sure if we all know what attributes are. Attributes are like, I think it's characteristics or
Yes.
features. Yes. So it's width, style, color, pattern, hedge, end style, and join style. Those are the attributes of a pen. Can I move on? Yeah. Okay. And then there are two variants of attributes exploration that can be used. It's the attribute listing and the attribute matrix. The attribute listing, the focus is on finding alternatives to any listed attributes. It is a creative technique which involves breaking the problem into smaller and smaller parts and looking at alternative solutions to these parts. And then the attribute matrix, on the other hand, it optimizes creative effort by exploring the links and relationships between the different attributes or components. How do we do the attribute listing? The team lists all the attributes of a problem or a product or an issue. In this case, in my example of a pen, you will list all those attributes of the pen. Once a comprehensive list has been compiled, those attributes then that attract the team's interest or look helpful are identified and prioritized. The team then decides on the attribute it wishes to investigate first, and thereafter explores alternatives to the particular attribute. I think in my example on the discussion board, I said the problem was time management. And then when I listed the attributes, I think one of them was improvement on scheduling. So you can say maybe you want to improve on how you schedule the work for people, so that then you can prioritize that part and then investigate it. If that makes any sense. And then you explore the alternatives to that attribute. And then you do the same with all of them. So once all the attributes have been explored, the different results are compared. Combinations of new attributes are then investigated for the insight they reveal concerning the problem. These new ideas are then entered into a problem-solving process. That is the attribute listing. Hey, then the attribute matrix. I found it a little bit difficult to understand. I tried to understand it, but I don't think my understanding is to the level that I wanted it to be. But I've put in the notes here. So the attribute matrix generates a matrix where the various components of the first item are listed on one axis, and the components of the other item are listed on the other axis. You evaluate the different matrix combinations by eliminating combinations of components of the item that already exists, listing those cells where the combination of two components seems immediately valuable, and listing those ideas that seem promising in the way that might allow opportunities to merge. The last step of the stage is to enter ideas and opportunities that emerged from the previous process into the problem-solving process, and then to explore the new ideas that are generated by the way of this process. I really found it a little bit difficult to understand, but here is an example that we got on the PowerPoint from the lecture. Okay. If you could just all have a look at that, at this example. Can I drink water, please? 1 minute, guys. Thank you. Okay, according to my understanding on this example, the company here, they realized that their profit margins on their CD are low, so they wanted to see what they can do in order to solve that problem. and then they looked at the packaging of the CDs. They looked at the packaging of the CVs, so of the CDs, sorry. So, and then this table here is the attribute matrix. Okay, so the attributes at the top there, those are attribute. Guys, I honestly don't understand this thing much. I'm not going to lie, because I'm still also trying to figure it out. I apologize on that note. I'm still going to have a look at it proper, because I really failed to understand it. And I don't want to try and explain something to you guys that I'm also not getting. I'm getting it, but I'm not getting it the way that I should be. So if you can pardon me there. I'm done.
All right,
Hello.
thank you very much, Londiwe. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
platform
I'll
is
share
open.
this as well on email.
Mbali?
Okay, maybe we can just open, it's not necessarily a question to you, maybe just to all of us now that I'm thinking in hindsight. Show us those categories of the attributes, the social and whatnot. I don't know what that was. I think it was the previous. The first slide.
Yes, yeah.
These ones, yeah, like the physical and whatever. Now I'm trying to think in hindsight based on the question that is posed for the assignment. Would then this be maybe a technique that we would want to use? Because, okay, though the professor still says it doesn't have to be correct, right? But I'm just trying to think in hindsight, everybody, just what we've just read here. If we're going to, the question, what was the question again? Determine what? The worst thing about online study. Yeah, so I'm trying to think how feasible would it be to then use this technique?
Can I answer?
What everyone else thinks, yeah.
I think let's hear all the techniques first, because we've only heard, I think, 2 and then my 2, so it's only 4. So I think it's only fair that the others also give us their presentations, and then we can discuss what would be feasible for us.
I second that notion, Londiwe.
Sorry,
That's
guys.
all
No,
present, and then
sorry. Maybe you're not understanding my question, right? I'm saying based on the question that the professor asked, right? If we're looking at these attributes, where would ours fit in the question? Where would it fit in? It's price attributes, it's psychological, process attributes, social. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then the
Okay.
feasibility of it. Not necessarily that we have to choose, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I think now I hear you. I think it would be social attributes. But at the same time, I also think it can be psychological attributes.
Okay.
What do you guys think? What do you think?
I'm looking at the psychological one because motivation, I mean, there's clearly a motivation that made us all to come and register for the course.
Definitely a need.
And the need, yeah.
But at the same time, there's responsibilities. So yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions? Right. Londiwe, thank you so much for your presentation. I think if there are no further questions, obviously you then, like you have said, share your presentation with the rest of the group. The next person.
I'll email everyone.
Yeah, okay. The next person.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mbali. Who's the next one again?
It's Makhabane.
Oh, okay. Mr. Mbali.
Sure. Yes, sir. Can you please allow me to share the screen?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, sir.
No, I can't share it from my
You
side.
can't share.
Yeah, please give
one
me.
participant can share the time. All participants.
Oh, no,
can-
that goes.
Yeah.
I think it's coming.
All right.
Okay. Can you all see it?
Certainly.
Right.
You can go ahead. I think, can everybody see Ms. Mahali's screen?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, guys. I'll be presenting first on the SWOT analysis. So, can you see it? Yes, it should be. I
Go
think
ahead,
it's up now. So, SWOT in actual fact stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Basically, it is a strategy. It is a strategic tool that is used by organization to assess or evaluate business cases. So, and the strength basically defines internal attributes or characteristics that give a company some competitive edge over the others in the business. The weaknesses defines internal attributes or characteristics that weaken competitiveness of a business against other companies. And then the opportunities talks about the external favorable situations and factors that can be strengthened competitive advantage of the business. And then we have the threats as well, which are the external unfavorable situations and factors that could create problems for businesses, compromising its competitive edge over the other businesses. So this tool normally is used in different organizations or companies, but I've tried to summarize some of the examples that we can actually see how SWOT analysis can be actually used to try to find problems or opportunities or the threats in the organization. So first of all, I've listed the strength examples. If a company has a strong financial position, we can say that is its strength. If it's got a good brand or competitive prices or competent leadership or adequate resources like maybe buildings and the cars, depending on the industry that we're actually involved in, or perceived quality of products. This could be an example of the what you call the strengths of an organization or a company. Then for weaknesses, we have the following examples. If we are in debt, then it's a weakness. And then if we have a cash flow problems, and then we have high staff turnover, and then we have history of defective products, then it's a challenge. And then or high records of accidents or low staff morale. For opportunities, I picked about 4 or 5 examples as well. These are finding new customers, new ways for cost reductions, new product development, finding latest technologies, or exploring new markets or new strategic alliances. For threats, I picked also a couple of examples that include loss of key staff, loss of property due to natural disasters or economic meltdown, lawsuits, or strike by workers. When determining the SWOT analysis, the basic guide will be to try to formulate some questions that can be addressed by each one of those characteristics. For example, if we are looking for strengths, we can ask ourselves a question such as, what advantages does the company have over the others? What does the company does better than others? Those are examples that we can actually try to find information that are related to the strength of an organization or a company. What unique or low-cost resources does the company have that are not available to other companies? What unique selling propositions are associated to the company? And then if we are looking for weaknesses of a company, we can ask ourselves some basic questions such as, what aspects of the company what aspects of the business could the company improve on? And then what should be avoided by the company? And what factors are causing the company to lose clients or sales? For opportunities, we can ask ourselves basic questions such as what are the interesting trends in the market that can be profitably explored by the company? And then what are the social changes and demographics that brings new opportunities to the company? Or are there any regulations or law that can help the industry for new products or services? Or are there any technological developments that can be explored to bring new products into the market? And again, if you want to determine what we call the threats to the company, we can ask ourselves basic questions such as, what are the main obstacles faced by the company? And was the company involved in any scandals recently? Or does the company have the bad debts or cash flow problems? And when it comes to the applications, I think in my organizations, we have used SWOT analysis when we are actually trying to develop our strategic business plan. And then we found it very useful because we were able to identify the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And again, you can also use SWOT analysis for self-assessment. If maybe you are preparing yourself for an interview, you need to know your weaknesses, you need to know your strengths, you need to know your abilities to do other things. So I think it can be a very useful tool for different companies, irrespective of the size or the industry in which the company is being involved in. I think this brings to the end of my presentation for the first problem-solving technique. Maybe I can invite questions or comments while we are still here.
Platform is open for questions, team.
Yes.
I think most of us probably don't have questions because we pretty much kind of familiar with the SWOT analysis. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right. So can I
As
stop
I was
sharing?
speaking, Mr. Mbali, I was just wondering loudly if, the real party really uses SWOT analysis at any point, but, it is a comment. Anyway, yeah.
I didn't get that.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Was that a question?
No, it wasn't a question.
get
I was just thinking out loud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In absence of questions, Mr. Mbali, you can go ahead with your
Can stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to share my second presentation. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay. So my second presentation is on the snowball technique. This is the problem-solving technique that falls under the evaluative quadrant. And this technique is used to categorize large number of ideas into manageable themes or cluster groups. So I've tried to summarize it from the notes and from other materials on how does this technique works. First of all, it's applicable for when we have like a bigger group where we can have a lot of ideas from different people and trying to merge them into one themes or different clusters. This is how it works. The team comes up with ideas and they are listed. And then say the facilitator of the group starts with the first idea, and then the team decides if that idea adds value to the problem that they are trying to solve. The process is followed for all the listed ideas. And then after that, the ideas are grouped into clusters, say group 1, group B, group C, or whatever, depending on their similarities. And then ideas are then transferred into the index card. And then one card belongs to one idea. And then the cards are pinned on the board. And then the team collectively clusters and sorts the ideas according to any organizing principle of their choice. Cards with more or less similar ideas are pinned next to each other or in the vertical column representing an organogram. So members of the team are given opportunity to change any idea or cards between different categories or groups. Clustering will end when the team have reached consensus. If there are any uncertainties or difference of opinion about certain ideas, those ideas are clustered into a group called uncertainty or unclassified and shall be revisited at the end of the process. Different members are given different roles for sorting, for naming clusters, and evaluating decisions on the clusters. And then the typical applications involved, the team can be used during brainstorming sessions where teams can be given tasks to do during the breakaway sessions. The team will later on reconvene to put up their ideas. The challenge with this technique depends on the level of participation by the team. So if the team members are not fully participating, then we are not going to get the results that we are expecting or we are desired to get. Then the teams have to gather adequate data or information for better participation. Basically, this brings us to the end of my presentation. It's a short one. I'm saying, I'm trying to put concepts on this one so that you can maybe try to get some more information related to this technique. Mr. Mape, I think I'm done with my presentation.
All right, Mr. Ma, thank you so much. Questions?
Yes.
Floor is open for questions. Londiwe?
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. Londiwe here. I just have a question. These ideas that are put into clusters, are they ideas related to the problem? Is there a problem that needs to be sorted out? Is it related to a problem?
That is correct.
Ideas related to a problem? Okay.
Yes, the ideas are related to the problem. For example, you'll be like, say you are in the breakaway sessions, you are working in groups. So you are trying to solve a problem. Each team will bring its own idea on how to approach that particular problem. Thereafter, we come together and then we bring those ideas together and try to match those that are more or less similar.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
All right.
More questions? Nothing. The next person, Mbali.
So I can stop sharing.
Yes, you can stop sharing, Mr. Mbali. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. Let me also try and share my screen. Let me know if something's happening on your side, guys.
Sorry.
I'm saying you let me know if there's something happening on your side, if you see.
Nothing is yet. Yes, ma'am. You can go ahead, Mbali.
So my first one is called the potential failure analysis. And so basically what it does is that it allows the teams to identify potential failures that can occur, right? And have an impact on the implementation of a plan. So in essence, it's these are problems or failures that might or might not even occur. It looks at the potential issues that might arise and the actions that one can adopt to correct the issues. The process can be adopted in the implementation stages of problem solving. It also looks at what can go wrong if certain alternatives are implemented. So when you're drafting a potential failure analysis, these are the questions that you'll be looking at. So the first one will be obviously identifying the activity raised. So whatever it is that you'll be, okay, let me just come up with an example. Construction of a new estate, probably that will be identifying the activity raised, right? And then the second one will be the description of the failure being foreseen. What failures do you possibly foresee? Possible causes of each potential failure, the effect of the failure by describing the impact of the failure, the risk in respect to the problem, for example, the main requirement not being met. So to be, if we don't finish building the houses, what would be then, the problem? The expected downtime, maybe if you're still mitigating and you need to do one or two things, how long would it take you? Severity of the failure on the implementation of the plan, the impact on the rest of the system. Contingency action refers to what can be done to prevent the failure. Detection of the failure looks at how the team will know when the failure occurs, right? So I've got an example which you don't have to necessarily go through it, but this is how you would then draft your potential failure analysis. So in this case, they're looking at ATM PIN, authentication. And as you can see, so, okay, another key is that you have to name about 4 or 5. So that it doesn't drag, you wouldn't name like 12. So you'd be focusing on the 4 or 5 key elements that could be an issue that can be raised. I don't know if I'm making sense.
We hear you.
Okay, yeah.
We hear you, Mbali.
Yes, so then you will obviously draft, firstly, it would be the main issue, the potential effect, what would be the causes, the current control measures you'll put in there, what recommendations then you would set in time. So yeah, that's basically my first one. Hopefully, yeah, you guys can ask questions if there's any.
Can you please go to the second presentation, Mbali?
Oh, go to my next one.
No,
Yes.
not yet.
No,
Oh, the example. The
yes,
example that I found.
yes,
Yeah, this is just an example that I found in, well, the internet, sorry.
Go ahead.
Afterwards.
Sorry?
I'm saying Mbali, Londiwe, and Kabelo afterwards.
Okay.
Mbali, go ahead.
Sorry, I think I now understand what this table is all about. I just wanted to check something on the table before she moves on to the next presentation.
All right, Londiwe.
It's okay now.
All right, thanks, sir. Londiwe.
I am just curious, would you say this can be used in the risk analysis as well?
I think it can. It actually can, because in any case, the whole purpose of a risk analysis is to check
for failures.
Yes, for failures. So now this one, you're basically preempting the failures that might or might not happen. And then the advantage is that if they do happen, you would have already have a way of mitigating those failures.
Okay, all right.
Kabelo.
No, I'm good now, Mepa. She
okay.
answered me in Londiwe's response when she was running to Londiwe.
All right. Mr. Mbali.
Yes, I have another question under SEV columns. What those numbers represent? I can see 3 under authentication and 8
Okay,
under.
these I'm not sure what those represent, but it's just, I'm just showing you an example. But I guess, okay, under 8, it says how severe is the effect on the customer? It says 8 and 3. I'm not sure what that means. But
But I
probably
think
that
it's
would be
the
the,
same,
the
maybe
data that you would collocate
severity.
from, the data that you would get based on the problem that you have. I don't know if I'm making sense.
I think
Can
they
I-
represent the severity of the problem. Probably
Yes.
3 is the lower mark, 8 is the higher mark. That's my thinking. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes.
but when we draft, oh, okay, this is moving. But when you draft your potential failure analysis, you would then use these key points. Not necessarily what I'm sharing, just an example of how they normally do it, but you would then use these points. So these would be your columns. This is what you'll be using against
Okay.
those columns. Yeah, not the numbers. That's just something to show you just for visibility.
As an example.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mbali.
Can I go to the next one?
I guess we can, man.
Okay, yeah, this one kind of jibbled me a little bit, but hopefully I can explain it. So the Pareto chart can be regarded as the 80-20 rule, which then states that 80% of the problems are caused by 20% of the causes. So 80% of the problems are caused by 20% of the causes, right? So the purpose of it is to determine critical issues, to separate the critical minority from the less inconsequential majority. That goes back to the 80%. Remember, the 80% of problems is caused by the 20, right? So if you have, let's say, 100% of the problems, you would then look at the 20%, which normally are the critical minorities that cause the 80% of the issues, right? You determine the level of critical issues that the team can deal with, right? So it's ideally suited for screening errors, screening problems and alternatives, screening defects in order to aid the problem-solving process. Sorry, guys. Determining the cutoff points of what contributes, of what contributes can be used. Okay. So this is just also like the previous one, just to show you an example of how you would actually draft one. Now, let's say, for example, you're running a hotel, not necessarily this, just listen to the information. This is just to show you how it's drafted. If you're running a hotel, and then let's say you do a survey and you get about, okay, 1,000 people participated in the survey, and each would have written down whatever issues that they have in the hotel, right? So you'll take that 1,000, and then depending on the number of questions that you asked them. So let's say you one of the questions was signal, for example, within the hotel. So if you find that out of that 1,000, maybe 258 people came with a lot of complaints, so you would start with the major issue, the ones that had, out of the 1,000, everybody complained about. So that would be the first one that you put in there. In this case, it would be button defect. I don't know if you guys are still with me.
Yes, we are, Mbali.
Yes,
yeah.
we are on alignment.
Okay, so you would start with the ones that have the highest all the way to the bottom, right? And with these, what then you would do is then you calculate the accumulative percentage, right? And then you can also use this to have like your quantitative data, depending on how you want to, what would be the word now? Interpret the survey that you would have received, right? Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if I'm making sense. I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions? See. Mbali?
Hi, Mbali.
Yes.
I'm lost.
Okay. Okay, let me start. So like how I said, right? You always start from the highest complaints, right? Okay, look at it this way. Don't read these at the bottom, right? Let's say this is all the information you took from the survey that you did, right? You would take, this would be the highest level of complaints. For example, the Wi-Fi is bad, or the connectivity bad. This would be the hotel.
The rooms are not clean. The rooms are not clean.
Yeah, it's dirty, it's noisy, the food is bad, or whatever. But now in these, some of these can be actually, it can go all the way, right? All the way to the bottom. Remember, you would have interviewed 1,000 people, right? So now then the key of this is you can't be looking at all these from 1 all the way to 1,000. So you look at the key majority, right? Which then goes back to the 80-20, that some of it, when you then interpret the data, you can actually see that, okay, fine. The first one is people are not happy with the reception. Number 2, the rooms are dirty. Number 3, there's noise. So this, when you then look at it, you can say, okay, so if we then fix, maybe have a staff meeting and then get our housekeeping in order, then the rest of the other issues that would have been there, we don't even need to raise them because the majority will then solve the minority.
Okay.
If I'm making sense.
Thank you. I'm with you now.
Is there any?
Yes, Kabelo. Kabelo.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Be nice.
No, I'm very nice. No, I was just saying, Mbali, I wanted to add to what you were saying as I was looking at this. It seems as though you can go to your, it's just a comment, it's not a question, just for the benefit of everyone. It's like when you go to your, what's the other exercise?
The exercise
Cumulative.
previously, yeah, the one where the lecturer gave us the Excel with all that data.
Oh, yes.
Similar, yes, it's similar. So you would use all that information and then you put it in this aspect.
Yeah, and it also, yeah, you would literally do that. And I think it also says, if you go to this axis on your right, you can go to 80%. 80%, I think it's showing you mentioned the impact of the problem. So when you go to that line, the 80%, and then you draw a line that intersects that orange line, it basically takes you to the 20% of your causes. So essentially, as you said, you only focus on the major ones, and your major ones, which would be causing your problem, or 80% of the problem would be your button defect, pocket defect, and collar defect only. Yeah, it was just like another side of interpretation of what you were saying. I thought maybe I should share with the team.
Yeah.
Also thinking out loud, to say the 20% would literally intersect there where the cumulative says the problem is it's at 80%. So everything that causes 80% of your problem would only be button defect, pocket defect, and collar defect. And if you focus on those 3, then your problems should be sorted out.
Wait, Kabelo, isn't on your far left, obviously, the 5, 10, 15, 20, I see that it's recent frequency of occurrence, not necessarily the percentage, isn't it?
Yes, it's the frequency.
Yeah. So
the percentage is on the right.
Yeah, the percentage is on the right. So
it's the second y-axis, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys,
so if you draw a line from the 80% going across.
Yeah.
Yes, it will intersect.
Line to the line,
yeah, just imagine it, to the orange line. Then going down, it will only cut collar defect, and then everything on the left of it would be polar defect, button defect. So basically,
I see what I mean.
Going back to Mbali's, I think in that first slide, she says 20% of the causes are causing 80% of your problems. So that would mean that is the 20% of your problems. That would be your button defect and all those 3. If you focus on that, you can rest assured that 80%
will solve the rest of the minority.
Yes. Yeah, no, that was it. It was just the another side of an
Thank
interpretation.
you, Kabelo.
Yes, no. I think that's
Yeah.
it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mbali.
Yep.
And who's the next one?
Who would be after me?
Is it not Mepa?
Mepa, yeah.
I thought I'll get away with it because I'm. Yeah. All right. Mbali, thank you so
And
much.
then we'll go back to Kabelo after. I think she only did one last time.
And David as well did one the other day.
Yes.
All right.
Is he here, David?
He has been very quiet. David, can somebody check on him?
Yeah, he's on call, but I haven't had anything from him.
All right.
He's with us. Let's continue. Maybe you'll join later.
Okay. So can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Oh, you can see it. Okay. Mine was the decision tree and
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, Mepa. I can't see from my
Still
side.
sharing.
Hasn't.
Mbali still sharing.
Oh, Mbali still
Mbali
sharing.
still sharing.
Mbali?
Yes.
Mbali?
Is it still sharing, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
Pause share. How do I stop? Okay, there.
There's a button up there.
Yes, I've stopped.
Yeah, okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, Mepa.
Not yet. Okay. Gee. Why is it? Can you see now? Can you guys see?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
we can see.
All right, all right. So
Yes.
I did a bit of work on the decision tree. So a decision tree is a map of possible outcomes of related choices. And now it allows an individual or organizations to weigh possible actions against one and against another based on the cost, probabilities, and benefits. They can be used either to drive information discussion or to map out an algorithm that predicts the best choice mathematically. Now, basically, you have, if you are in a situation or a business is in a situation where it needs to make a decision, and then it is not too sure how to then, what decision to make, then they can use a decision tree to be able to get to at least an informed decision. Now, a decision tree typically start, obviously how you do it, you start with, obviously you have a problem, and then to put it on paper, you start with the nodes, how you do it physically on paper, then you start with the nodes, which branches into possible outcomes. Each of those outcomes lead to additional nodes, which branch off into other possibilities, which gives it a tree-like shape. Now, so imagine something of this nature. So in the morning, you decide that you want to, it's either you want to go to work or you want to go fishing. So those are the two possibilities that you have at that point in time. Now you can use a decision tree to help you to reach at least some sort of, or to analyze, not to read, but to analyze the situation before you, and then decide on whether you want to go fishing or you want to go to work. Now, you have then to draw a decision tree. You start with on the far left. On the box, you start there. So the box represents the decision to be made, or the decision at that point in time. Now you want to start there with making a decision. You say, should I go to work or should I go fishing? Now that would be the first stage or first step of your decision tree. And then you move further to your left on the round shapes. And then when you get to that point, those are then the possibilities. Now you say, if I go to work, now what possibilities or probabilities of something happening would be that now, am I going to keep my job or am I going to lose my job? And then what are the possibilities that I may keep my job or I may lose it? If it's 70% of 70% probable that you lose your job, you write it down. Lose it 25, you write it down. If I go fishing as an option, what is the possibility when you get to obviously the round shape on the left? What is the possibility that I'll catch? Possibly 64%, and then the rest will be I would fail to catch fish on that particular day. Then on the basis of that, then you say, then you can make a decision obviously for yourself to say, what do I do then? Now I'll make another example that is just a bit detailed than this one, but I was just trying to show you guys to listen to how to write it down and how it works at a very fundamental level. So in essence, I think we all do, or rather get to a situation where you have to use decision tree without even knowing each and every time of our day, obviously. Whether the moment you get to a position where you say, what do I do now? Do I do this or that? Do I sit for presentation and present to the group or not? And so the example that I'm going to make on the decision tree, it's what I've probably, although it was at the very basic level, of the company which had to make a decision on whether to buy or to manufacture components, and then in-house. So it's a manufacturing company. It needs to it wants to know, do we manufacture or do we buy these components? Now there are variables at the beginning. So the company would then say, okay, fine, these are the alternatives that I have. It's either manufacture or it's either I purchase. Now, if the market, obviously they look into, they do some a bit of work on what the trends have been in past financial years, and then they then get to the point where they can make or come up with numbers. They say, if we manufacture, and then if obviously the demand afterwards, so these are called state of nature or chance events. It's either they happen or they may not. And then if the demand will be high, if manufacturer demand is high, we possibly make a revenue of 20 million. If the demand is medium, we will get 6 million. If there's no the demand is low, we lose 3 million. If we purchase and then the demand is high, we will make 14. Demand's medium, we'll make 8. Demand is low, will make 2 million. The probability of occurrence of high demand, then they calculate, obviously it's a probability, then they'll say it's 0.3, medium demand 0.4, and then low demand is 0.1. Now, then they go ahead. So this is what we are looking at, or what a company comes up with, and then they then go ahead to that decision tree, and then to write it down. Then they will start with at the box, and they will say that is the first stage where I put in 1, and then they move. They say, okay, fine. What options do I have? It's either I manufacture or it's either I buy in-house. I'm sorry, I've just forgotten to write that. So this is manufacturing, and then this is to manufacture or buy in-house. And then they go to stage 2. They say, what are the probabilities? The probabilities are 0.3, 0.4, and 0.3 again. What am I going to make if I manufacture? Then we go to the table again. We are saying these are the probabilities. Once we put the probabilities, we go to the table again. We are going to make 20 million. And then going back to the table again, if we manufacture medium demand, it's 6 million. Go to the table again and say we manufacture low demand, we lose 3 million, and probability is 0.3. We go to the table again, we say we will lose 3 million. Possibility of that happening if we manufacture, it is 0.3. Now, if we then go in-house, then the same thing happens. We say there's a likelihood of 0.3 that we will make 40 million on high demand. There's a probability of 0.4 on medium demand to make 8 million. There is probability of 0.3. And then if that happens on low demand, then we are only going to make 2 million. Now, this is, and then now you look at that as your, obviously the situation. Then you start with the analysis. Starting with the analysis, then you multiply the 20 million by the probability, 6 million by the probability. You add all that. That is for manufacturing. You add all that, then you work backwards. Now, when you multiply that by that by that, and then you get, and then you add, then you get 7.5 million. You do the same with in-house, then you get 8 million. Then you work again further back. You say, which one is the highest? So the highest is 8 million. It's not 7.5, it's 8 million. Then it means if you just, this was 9, then you go backwards to your first, where you started. You say, if I then manufacture, I mean, if I buy in-house, then I have a possibility of making 8 million. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that is the guarantee that you'll make 8 million. So you have a possibility of making 8 million over time if you you go in-house. You don't manufacture, then you purchase, rather. If you purchase, then you have possibility of making 8 million. Now, after you have done that stage, you go back and then you do your risk analysis, because the decision would not necessarily be, we haven't reached it. So you then go and do your risk analysis. Your risk analysis obviously will be based on what is important to the business at the time. Now, it's either what is important to the business at the time, it's profit, it can be the survival of the business, maintenance of jobs, opportunities, or whatever the case might be. So you do your risk analysis depending on your business situation. And then after you have done your risk analysis, then you can be able to say, or get to a point where you say, which decision can we go with? But at least at this point, or when you reach this point, in terms of possible revenue that you can make as a business, you'd have reached it. So to speak. So I think it was Kabelo's presentation on risk analysis, I think. Then after this point, then you can then use that to further clarify your position as a business, and then to make a decision in terms of which decision is best. And obviously this has this method obviously has a disadvantage. The disadvantage would be that, or I mean, advantages, then it would be that it's easy to understand, can be used without hard data, and data required is minimal. So if there are new options available, then they can be added to the tree. So going back to this, you have option of purchasing, you have option of, manufacturing, and you have option of purchasing. If there's another option again, then you can add that option to this, and then to form the third leg, and you go on obviously with your decision tree. And that is the option that you have on this one, and they can be easily combined with other decision-making tools. So you can decision-making tools that we have been going through, guys. We can use this together with with whichever decision technique that we can, and so the disadvantage, however, is that the decision can become excessively complex. In such cases, complex influence diagram can be a good alternative. Now, obviously, if you are dealing with a very, your data is too large, and then so they can become quite a bit complex. So this is just very basic. So imagine a situation where you have so many options, and as you go forward, and the options just multiply, then you get to a point where they get to a point where they can be just that a bit complex. And so I think application of this, like I've said before, we can use it with anywhere really, if you think about it. So in the work situation, whether you want to, I think in my case, it's on projects, whether the company wants to embark in a new project or not. Could be, do you want to renovate the existing properties, or do you want to buy outright properties instead of renovation? I think then it's a very useful tool in those situations. I can use that in those situations, I have found out. And yeah, that will be the end of the first presentation. Guys?
Yes, say we are still on board.
Okay.
I have a question regarding I think it's slide number 5.
5.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Or the other figure. Maybe just go down to this.
The figures. Figure. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That.
Yes. I followed what you are saying, but what I did not actually understand is the probability line. How do we determine those numbers, say the 0.3s, the 0.4s, or we just took this as an example from elsewhere? I just wanted clarity on the figures of those probability. I'm trying to contextualize this into the real world, and how are we going to get to those numbers? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I will try to answer this one. Look, I think probability of you have used the past experience to predict or to get to a position where you say something is could probably, or an event could probably happen. Let's say, for example, high demand. What would be, obviously you look at the trends past year and other factors. What is the probability that we'll have high demand? Let's say you want to you want to develop a new application, and then the success of that application, what is the probability that it could? Then you look at potential demand, or what the problems are. Is this thing going to solve the problem that exists? And then what has been, that sort of it. So there are so many variables, I think, that the business will look at before they get to a point where they say, this is probable to have the demand for this is this much, or it is another figure. You understand? So I think you look at many variables to get to that point of assigning a number to a probability that it would occur.
All right, noted, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. But I'll make an example. You want to sell, ice in Nsonge, in the highlands of Lesotho, where it's cold, and then what is really a probability that the demand will be high? So obviously we would then say, but really, is it going to really, into the probability that you'd have high demand would be very, very low. Then you can be able to then assign the demand sort of probability number to say it's low, and then if it's low, then it could be less than 0.3. Unlike saying you're going to sell it in Nigeria, you sell ice in Nigeria, then really, what is the probability that people would buy the ice at any given point in time in Nigeria where there's no water, clean water or something like that. Now you are slightly obviously. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Question?
I can see the hand of Mokwena. Probably you won't be able to see because they are sharing that side.
Oh, all right. Kabelo?
Yes, Mepa, I wanted to ask on the probabilities as well.
Okay.
Do they have to do they have to add up to 1, or it can be any fraction or any number? Because I see the ones that you have, they add up to 1 or maybe 100%. Is it a necessity, a requirement, or it can be any number? It doesn't have to add up to 1 combined for all the okay, if you looking at the probability of height,
yes,
the 0.3 is 0.4 and another 0.3, do they have to add up to 1, or it can be any number? You can have 0.3, 0.4 and a 0.5 maybe.
Oh, I see what you mean. Now they should add up to 1 in a sense that yes, in a sense that obviously we are looking this high demand, medium demand, and low demand. They, how to explain this? But they have to add up to 1.
It's like a weighted kind of.
Yes,
I get you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can't have a high demand and how to put it? They have to add up to 1. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it.
I think I get you. I get you. Thanks, Mepa.
All right, no problem. Any more questions?
Yes, we have the hand of.
Please,
Londiwe,
can you share this
David
presentation on email?
Okay, I'll do that.
And then we have David thereafter.
David?
I didn't maybe follow well. I'd like to know, is there a requirement for this technique, or can it work for just any team, any circumstance? Is there any requirement for that?
I think it can work on most cases, like I've indicated here, even in our daily lives. It can work on business-wise, it can work on, I think, on many situations. The only restriction, obviously, like we have said, in the disadvantages would be the data. If you obviously have to deal with the cases where you have lots and a lot of data, then you can, it can become complex. So you may want to use other techniques as well, other than this one.
Okay, so it's some for actually issues that are not very complex. That's what you mean?
No. You can work for even complex issues, but what I'm saying is, if you have a lot of data that you are working with, and then it can get a bit complex. So I do believe there will be softwares, obviously, that I don't know if there's anything like, or applications that you can use once you get a lot of data that you can that can help. I believe. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
But in essence, the bottom line is we can use it in almost anywhere.
The question was more about requirement. I understand what you mean. It's just that actually reminds me of something in programming. So there should be a formula for the outcomes to know how many outcomes would be out of that trees. But what was most interesting is either is there any requirement for how to guess if we have to choose this technique or not. But it's okay. I got my answer.
Okay. All right, David. Thank you. So any more hands?
I don't see any more hands.
I don't see any. All right.
I think maybe you can proceed.
Okay.
Second presentation.
Yeah. I think what the third one really, it's I had not prepared a presentation as such. I had on this one, it is very similar to this technique is very similar to your technique, the technique, snowball technique, Mohale, in a sense that it is, the conditions or how it is executed is pretty much the same. So the purpose obviously is to drive collective comprehension of a problem by the team and then agree on the action plan. So instead of simply voting for items acquiring a majority, a group uses consensus technique to find solutions. So we don't go with majority like we do in democracy. We get people or a team, a group of people in one space, and then we do consensus or we apply consensus technique to then come to a collective decision. Now, in order for this to happen, or for the right conditions for this to happen, we have to, or the team has to have a common goal. That simply means every participant in the group needs to share a common goal and be prepared to work towards that goal. Our goal would be, let's say, it is to, we are experiencing a loss or a lot of defects. As a group or as a technical group, we can decide that we have realized that we have lots of defects in our production line, and then that will be the starting point. So our common goal would be to sort that problem out. And so all the people that are supposed to partake in that exercise would be the people involved and the people who will be affected by the outcomes of, or affected by any change in that. So you cannot get people from elsewhere or who are not going to get affected. You have to get people who will be affected. People have to be committed to the process. They have to allocate sufficient time to participate in the process, as it can be quite involving. The process should be clear. The group must share understanding of the process that would be utilized. So people should understand exactly, understand the technique and what it involves or what will be done. And then we have to have active participants or active participation. So you'll see why it is necessary to have active participation. You have to get a good facilitator. So you get a group of people who have a problem, and you have somebody or a single person who will facilitate the whole how the technique is going to be done. You know who to participate. Consensus are attended by people obviously who are going to be affected, not people from outside. You cannot get HR person to participate in this technique if you want to solve. It's really a technical problem. It is a defect or production of high defect rates. So you have to get people who will be who are going to be affected. So how it is done, it's step one, clearly understand and prioritize ideas and problems, brainstorm. So you get a group of people engaged in the brainstorming exercise. And then, so they brainstorm and they record their ideas on a piece of paper. And initial group, but before obviously the initial, they do that, and then the initial group, as a bigger group, and then the initial group is broken down into smaller groups. So you have a bigger group, they brainstorm, it gets broken into smaller groups. Individual team members work alone within the group to cluster and sequence ideas. Individuals work in pairs to discuss their mapping and combine views. And different parents within teamwork work to develop a mapping of activities to agree, and share proposals. Participants then will take a break. After they come back from the break, and then on the basis of Storman, each team develops its activity cluster and present that to the team. The team reps consolidate, collaborate and consolidate activities. Activity cluster map for consensus by the whole team. So big team, they brainstorm, come back with ideas, and then obviously those ideas then it will be broken down. Ideas then will be clustered, and then engagement again, and then reclustered, and after that then we reach a consensus on, or after each and every cluster, then we reach a consensus on what we should adopt as a team or as a way forward. And then, yeah, so that would be the end of my presentation. Now, obviously, in terms of how this would work, like I've said, it works where, let's say we have a large defects rate. To solve that, then we can use this technique, or we have an area, let's say in our community, we have an area where we, there's high accident rates, and then or rate of accidents, and then we can use that as a community to come together to get to a point where we obviously have a problem. The problem would be high accident rates, and then as a community, we are all involved as a community, and then we can use this process to get to a solution or solutions to that problem. And then obviously as a community, it will be, it's consultative. So it will be the decision that will be made by everybody, or we get to a decision where everybody is going to then agree. Any questions?
Information overload right now. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mepa.
Thank you, though.
Well presented.
Yes.
I
So this is
don't
very
have
similar
any
to
comments on
Oscar, but I mean, mud, to snowball.
I don't see any other hands from this side. I don't know if there's more comments or questions before we wrap up.
Not on my side, thank you.
Sorry, Miss, are we wrapping up the whole session or
No.
moving to
Mepa's presentation. David
Oh.
and Kabelo, I think they're yet to present their.
There's still one more yet.
Yeah. By the way, I think maybe you should present both of them, because I think we have got a good recording here. It's not like the bits and pieces that we did it the other day. Maybe if we can do it all together. I'm looking at time now, it's 8:30. We are now in 1.5 hours into the presentation. So probably we'll be able to make it for the 2 hours if both of you can present their techniques. I don't know, this is my feeling.
Sorry. What time does this session end? Is it 9 o'clock or what time?
10.
Oh, 10, okay.
Yeah, I said I scheduled it for 3 hours, so we can stop earlier if we want, but I've scheduled for 3 hours.
Okay.
And I think Kabelo and David will be quicker in their first presentations, because we have already seen that. That says we can fit all this thing in 2 hours time, maybe, or maybe some few minutes after 2 hours. That says we have done the assignment, and then we don't have to go back to the previous meetings that we had before, because they were only for 30 minutes and even the line was not good that time, especially from my side. I don't know. This is how I see it. Mr. Mepa, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Kabelo? Okay. So David, do you want to go ahead and present?
Okay, let me do that. Oh, you guys see what I'm doing, right? Hello?
Yes, David.
Are you guys there?
Yeah, we can see your screen, David.
I'm going to present about the nominal one. So I'd like to show first. So the nominal technique. This is the second one, because I had two of them. I have the value surfacing, and this is the nominal group technique. And as it's mentioned here, it's nominal. It's It's actually a technique that emphasizes the fair share for everyone. Because it's like calling everybody in a group by name to make sure. Sorry.
Sorry
Yes.
to stop. Can anybody see what David is sharing? I can't see it.
No.
You can't see your
I
screen,
don't
David.
see either.
You can't see it.
No.
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. You all guys see now?
Yes.
You guys, can you see now?
Yes, we do.
Yes, David, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, as I was saying, I had two techniques. I had the value surfacing, the one I did last time, that visual, and I have a nominal group technique. And as I was saying, in a nominal group technique, what is very interesting about this technique, that it's nominal. It's according everybody by name to make sure that everybody has a fair share of sharing. And this technique, it's a generating sort of techniques. The main point is actually to generate more ideas among people. And the target is actually to allow everybody to participate. And in some case, it's when you are in a group, for instance, you have some new people in a group and you want to make sure that you're not too shy to say something. This technique can help actually share everybody, for instance, a fair share, to say that you're going to have everyone going to have 3 ideas first to share and to roll on. I'm going to give an example. So that's basically what this technique is about. So everybody has to write these ideas. If you have to call it in terms of steps? The step 1 is everybody has an idea, you write it down, and then yeah, given of course a problem, because all this is to solve some kind of problem. And yeah, so I'm going to explain how this roll down, how the sharing happens. What is this? Can you guys still see? You can see, right? Can you see what I'm posting now?
Yes, David.
Can you see?
Page 13, yes, David.
Yes. As I said, the nominal group technique, it's mostly about allowing everybody in a group to share the ideas, whether they are shy or not, because as we know, not everybody has the same energy and the same courage sometimes to maybe either raise a hand or to actually easily explain the idea. So it gives everyone, for instance, the same amount of time or the same amount of idea. It gives something that we call like a quantum. It means a specific fair share that everyone will be using. And it's like happens by turn. So I use an example here. I don't know if you can see it. We have 5 participants, for instance, in a group. As we actually, we are 6 of us. And the first person is a person who has a lot of ideas, 5 ideas. The third one, 3, 2, 1. But we want to make sure, this one is 6. We want to make sure actually that everybody in this group is going to actually share it, because otherwise some other will be either quicker or have more courage to say, and the other one will be just silent. So we give a kind of quantum. We say, for instance, that everybody is going to share first 3 ideas, and we're going to do a turn until everybody does that. It's going to make sure that everybody, even the one who has 1, will give his idea. So these colors is actually to differentiate every person of the 5 people who are there sharing. And this is like the first turn. By turn, I mean actually that a set where everybody has said something, had an opportunity to give his 3 ideas. And in this case, we see that person is 5, but is only going to give his 3 ideas first, and then it's over. we go to the next one who's gonna give his 3 ideas. Once this one speaks, there's 2 remaining. So it means we'll come back to him, but only after the 5th person has spoken. We do the same for the 3rd one. His 3 ideas will be over. The 2nd one, since it's 3 ideas, he only has 2, so it means it will be complete. There won't be any need to come back to him. The 4th one, we only have 1, and the 5th one will have 3, but it will remain 3. So he will only speak after the first one had finished his ideas. It will do that. And so this is basically how the nominal group techniques works. And everybody will be giving his idea about a given problem, and actually suggesting in some solutions. And after everybody has been heard, because here, as I said, the main point is mostly generating ideas and being able to collect them, or to collect them and put them in a table in such a way that we will decide afterward. So after this technique, we can actually use another technique for actually to select which are the best ideas. But the main point of this technique is to generate more ideas for people and to allow them to share it. Is it cool, okay with everyone? Hello?
We hear you, David.
Yeah, David, we're here.
Yeah,
David?
I think for this presentation, this is it. It's basically what I got out of this one, because in a school note, it gives an example that I didn't find it that much clear. They were explaining as well how they were sharing the specific ideas, but I use a different source to actually make it more clear than this one, because in here as well they were giving turns, like the first one will give, each one is 1 ideas. So I guess here the set had to be actually everyone has to give 1 idea and they'll come back to the other one. In my example, I use like 3 instead of 1. I said I used 3. But the main point is just that everybody will have a fair share to actually explain himself in terms of ideas, and then everything will be collected. All the ideas will be correcting, and they will see now which are the ones actually that are coming more than the others, and some conclusion will come out of that. So this is what I understood out of this technique. Is there any question or something to add?
Sorry, David. Is there another page that you tried to share with us, or you only worked with the class notes?
Another page?
Yeah, because I felt like I think I heard you mentioning colors. Or was I hearing things?
Oh,
Did you only
this
just
was
say
an
one
example. This was an example to show how the sharing of ideas was working. Because how it works is the first step, we have a problem, everybody actually write ideas about what they think might be the solution. And I said for the first one, he has 5.
Okay.
Was it first clear about this picture? Yeah.
Fancy.
I only use this example to explain.
Okay, you didn't share the example on the screen.
I use this example, not the class note.
Which is this example? Because we can see the class notes.
David, we
could
only
not
see the class notes. We're not seeing anything else.
Oh, you only saw, okay. But I asked if all of you guys are actually could see. It looks like you said yes.
Yes, because all we can see is the class notes. So we don't know what else you're sharing.
This is a bit strange. Wait. Can you all guys see this? Can you see this board?
Yeah.
With colors? Is it the first time you see it?
Yes.
Yes,
That is
David.
correct. It's for the first time we are seeing it.
That's why I
Oh,
say I
I
heard you
thought-
mentioning colors.
I thought you guys heard it, sorry. So as I was saying, the nominal group technique is mostly a generating ideas technique. So it allows people, everyone to actually share his idea fairly. Whether it's a shy, if you have a group team, a new team where people actually are not very used to each other, to one another, and you want to make sure that everybody's going to speak. And some even shy people might have good ideas. So you can use this technique. For instance, here you have 5 participants. And this first person has 5 ideas, 5 solutions to the problem. This one, 3, 2, 1, 6. But you don't know actually if they can all express themselves easily.
David? David?
David gone now.
All right, Kabelo. Kabelo?
Yes, Mepa.
I think you can go. David? Okay, I think we can allow David a few moments to sort himself out.
Yeah,
And
sounds
then-
like he's still talking
Mm,
and he's talking to us.
We can't hear you, David.
Okay, I'll notify him. Kabelo, I think maybe if you can go ahead with your presentation as well. And David will come back afterwards.
okay, let me quickly share.
Sorry, guys. Is there someone that has the TV on? I'm hearing TV. I'm hearing another sound.
It's me.
Is it not
What
David
can you
talking?
hear?
Oh, this guy-
What are you hearing?
I thought it was David talking.
No, what are you hearing?
I heard in Jesus.
Oh my word. Sorry. There is someone playing in the background. Sorry. I'm trying to share here. Oh. How is it now?
Yeah, we can see it. Go ahead.
And I'm in the background sound.
No, there's
Background
no background
noise.
sound now. No, we are good.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay. I will just repeat the fishbone as Makhabane requested. I'll go through both the techniques all at once. So just in brief, the fishbone is a visual display which helps in identifying multiple causes to a problem. So it's more of dissecting a problem, but you want to display it visually. It entails a graphical use of the bones of a fish and its head to illustrate a problem and its causes. So adhering to the structure of the fish is also a requirement. The problem is depicted by the head, and then the bones. The bones comprise of one. So there's 2 groups of the bones making up the fish. So it's the core bone in the middle, which branches out into other smaller bones. So essentially, if you were to interpret it, is to say there is a problem with causes, right? But the causes can be dissected into different categories, basically. And then the categories, for one to remember easily, they are normally classified under the 6 M's. So it's the men, machines, methods, mother nature, which can be referred to which means the environment, then materials and measurements. So the policies and the procedures fall under the methods. So that's how you will actually show the different categories on the fishbone, essentially saying that all these together, they make up the causes to the problem. And then, so when do we use it? Normally it's used when you want to identify root causes of a problem. And then you also want to prioritize the causes. So more like what Mbali presented, to say you just want to illustrate, you just want to arrange your problems in a way that you can focus on the ones that are prioritized. So basically then that will give efficiency in addressing the problem. It helps the team to direct energies to the issues which are significant contributors to the problem. And it is also used to expose the complexity of the problem. So how you construct it, so it has to be done by a team and it has to be diverse so that you get different perspectives of the problem. Also from all levels in an organization, so that you get as much information as possible. And normally those people that are lower down, okay, well, it depends to the problem, but those people that are on the ground or in the field are more knowledgeable about a problem. So you would want them to be part of this whole process. It will help in the in how effective the fishbone will be to the team. And then the setup would be in a discussion or brainstorming session. And then you literally, how it's done when you physically do it is by drawing a straight line across a sheet from left to right. And then you place the head at the end of the line. So from left to right at the end, you put the head, and then the branches would be, the smaller bones would be about 45 degrees. And then those would be the causes. And then the root causes would basically then branch out from the main causes under their different categories. And then lastly, after listing out or finding out all those root causes, you then can use a prioritization matrix or risk assessment matrix to rate the causes, so that you focus on the ones which are significant or have a high risk rating. So you would list them there, and then here that would be your criteria. The score would be at the end there, or use a risk assessment matrix based on the likelihood or probability of that cause happening. And this, I think, also tying in with what Mbali presented on the potential failure analysis. This one can work mainly when the cause has not happened yet, but you preempted. So you look at the probability and you look at how catastrophic or how severe the cause would be to the whole problem. So if it's more probable and also severe, it will get the highest rating there. That will give you a 4 and a 4 times 4, giving you a 16. So basically the team has to focus much on dealing with this one, because it's going to be problematic to the, or very catastrophic to the likelihood of the failure occurring or of the problem occurring again later on. And then my second one was role storming. So this is literally the team members, right, in a team storming up roles. So what it is, it's coming from the generative quadrant, right? And then it's a technique which seeks to solve a problem by allowing the team to brainstorm from a perspective of different roles, right? So it's role playing. So essentially, say for instance, us in this team, we have our own roles. Let's say maybe we have allocated a leader, a chairperson, the secretary, and so forth. But when we are faced with a problem, applying this technique would be to switch up roles, right? So it's basically role playing. So like this demonstration, in a team, you have different roles, people having different roles. now when you want to solve this problem, you would have people switching up and literally wearing different hats and looking at the problem in a different way. So when they say role storming, they literally mean when you now assume the new role, you literally turn it upside down. You make sure that you forget yourself and you take everything that role requires you to do. I'll make a few examples just later in the presentation. And then, so what is the purpose of this whole thing? You can imagine if you now have people taking on new roles, the whole team becomes diverse now. So it's to create diversity and conditions which are conducive to effective problem solving, to go beyond limitations set by perception. So you can imagine if you were holding a role for a long time, by then you probably have limitations set by how you see things. Either you become complacent or negative about certain things and so forth, or you see things in just one particular way. So yeah, this picture just shows that from the order of things, we basically move to a place where now you get creativity, you get more color and so forth. So that will generate that more ideas. So when do you use it? When seeking to establish a creative environment, when seeking to break the cloud of limitations over a team, and also when seeking new insights into a problem. It can also be a fun one by just looking at it. So there's two applications, right, to this technique. So the one instance is where a team assumes roles held by the fellow teammates. So you just, within the same team, you just switch up roles, right? So let's say in an organization, you have a secretary, an accountant, a manager, you have your graduates or your trainee or interns, and then you have a safety officer, maybe an engineer, process engineer, a buyer, a contractor. You have a set team. And then when you want to solve this particular problem, you just switch up within the team. So it's still the same people, but they just take up the roles within the same team. And then there's the second application would be now when you take up new roles completely, entirely. So you can use fantasy roles, right? Like your Spider-Man, your Batman, your Tikoloshi, your Lisilo. I just added a Lisilo there to, yeah.
How is it Tikoloshi?
Yeah, the Tikoloshi comes from the class notes, by the way. But yeah, so this is how it's done. So basically what it does, it creates it forces the team to think outside the box. You can imagine if Spider-Man was to be part of the team, right? Spider-Man would, okay, let me talk about the Tigoloshi. Tigoloshi would want the people to kind of apply themselves in an environment where it's at night and people are sleeping, so like odd hours. So the team now are like, they are forced to be creative to kind of accommodate the new characters, right? So that's where the creativity comes from. And then you can also choose from the animal kingdom. You can choose, it can be an ant, a tortoise, a cat, a dog, an eagle, an owl. Creativity again will come from how this eagle normally acts or how it behaves and where it lives and so forth. And then also from subgroups, you've got your racial, your gender, your tribe, your ethnic group. Men and women don't see things in the same way. So by switching up roles like that or creating such characters, you get that nice mixture of ideas. And also like you can get somebody can act as someone from management or a union representative. An example, I've put up an example here. So when a company having a challenge with satisfying its target market with its skincare product not being 100% organic. So this company is producing a skincare product. They're saying it's organic, but if you look at the ingredients to it, they are not really all organic, right? So the company now the team has a mandate to create a completely new product with the same budget, yet increase profitability. So now the team leader can decide, okay, we are going to role play. We are going to, the other one will act as a customer, other one will act as, just different roles in there. And then hopefully you'll get the creativity that you want. Another one is like a dramatic play. I'll make a real life example now again. We had at work, now with the vaccinations and so forth, obviously we had two groups, those who were pro-vaccines and those who were against vaccines at work, mandatory vaccines at work. So they had to kind of push numbers to say, how do we increase the percentage of people who are getting vaccinated? So the other solution to solving the low percentage of people getting vaccinated was to do a role play. So people had to assume roles, act. The other one has to act as a person who is afraid of taking it. Other one who is not really afraid, but they've got their own convictions about it and so forth. And the other one had to be the manager. The other one had to be the company, the CEO, and so forth. Then you get that dramatic play or role play. Then as you come up with the whole drama and present it to the people, hopefully another 10% of the people would be convinced that, okay, fine, let's go and vaccinate. So that's one example. And then, okay, how do you do it? So how do you apply this? So the team would gather together, and then a team leader would present the problem to the team, and then the team leader presents the list of the roles being taken. So the team leader can decide that now we're just going to switch up within the group, or we're going to use new roles. And then the team will take on the different roles. They have to leave their own roles. They can't in their own roles, and then team brainstorms the issue from new perspectives afforded by the new roles. And then ideas and contributions are collated, then grouped, and then entered into the next step of the problem solving process. So yeah, from there, the team leader can just take those ideas and then enter them into the next problem solving process. They didn't say whether you need to prioritize them or what, because I can imagine how many ideas you would have from all the teammates now, but they didn't say anything about prioritization. And then, so the team leader can also be creative by saying, all right, you guys, before you go back to your own roles, you can evaluate now the ideas from different people within the new role that you are in before you go back to your original role. So that also creates some creativity in there, so that you judge, let's say maybe from the eyes of an accountant instead of a manager, or a secretary instead of a trainee, and so forth. And then just the last bit of it, then advantages are that it creates the thinking out of the box mentality. It allows the team members to be more sympathetic towards each other, especially if you are just going to switch up within one team and just take each other's roles. Then you can understand, it's sort of like getting into somebody's shoes. Then you can understand what that role entails and what it requires of you, before judging the next person and thinking maybe they're not doing their job right. And then breaks the false perceptions that members may hold against each other. And then it obviously also generates brand new and fresh insights. If now all of a sudden I'm an accountant, I can now come up with other things, because it's the first time I see this. I can come up with new ways of doing things. And then disadvantages is obviously the fact that there will be a lack of expertise, right? And that will not bring out the valuable inputs from team members. I don't know anything about accounting, say for instance, and then I go in there, I will not bring out the value that is required. So for this to be sufficient, to be effective, the members need to have sufficient time to study the roles. You study the strengths, you study the weaknesses, and so forth. So in that way, then you can the people can be able to bring out or to apply themselves more effectively than when they are clueless about what the role requires. Then the prerequisite is that the members must let go of their insecurities and act out the new role. So they say you are no longer you. So you literally take off that hat and you become someone else. So that's when you can actually bring out, the new insights in the new role. And then we should be open, honest, and fully present in the new role. Yeah, that's role storming. Thanks, guys. Any questions?
Great presentation, Kabelo. Very interesting technique. I don't have a question.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it can be fun as well. Can you imagine acting out different characters?
It would be, actually.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Thanks, Mepa.
All right, Kabelo. Thank you so much. Very interesting and insightful presentation. And Londiwe, you don't have a question, do you?
No, I don't.
Mbali, you don't have a question?
I do. I'm just trying
Okay,
to think.
go ahead.
Maybe another way of constructive criticism.
Go ahead, Mbali.
No, I'm trying to ask this technique.
Oh.
Would that be like a constructive criticism that the team is giving each other while also maybe obviously gathering ideas?
Yes, I think I heard your question, Mbali. Are you still asking?
I'm done, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it would be. That's why people need to, that's actually a nice way of interpreting it. People must let go of their insecurities. When you get there, you forget about you, forget about the what is it? What's the word? Potential like attention that would happen afterwards, but you can into the role and literally see things in a different way and then give constructive criticism as well. So, but yeah, you need to let go of insecurities, let go of any reservations and so forth.
Can I just add something else?
Yeah.
Some people tend to undermine other people's positions in the company. So it would be great to change roles so that they see what exactly other people do and what they have to think about in the organization.
Right. Mwale?
No, I'm okay, sir.
David? Yeah, I think David has a problem. All right, I think we are done with the presentations. And thank you very much for partaking. I'm not too sure. We then are going to move to section 2 of the assignment, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think we have to stop the recordings.
Oh, okay, that's all right. That's right. All right. Do you agree? I'm not stopping the recording.
What about David's presentation? I thought maybe we agreed that we need to have them all on this presentation, on this recordings.
Okay.
Because he did value surfacing the other day, but I'm not sure whether we'll have to have like 2 copies of the recordings.
Yeah, we probably will. I mean, as many as we can. I think that would be fine, because even the next session, we still need to record it, because then we deliberating and reading on the question. So we still have to record. So it'll be a second recording, and we'll probably get a third recording and a fourth, however many.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Should we continue, guys, or?
We
Hey, guys.
can continue.
All right, all right.
Do we continue with the recordings or do we stop the recordings and discuss part 2 of the assignment?
I think let's stop this recording and then start a new one so that it's not too huge and you know what I mean?
All right.
All right.
Sure.
So I'm now going to stop or pause.
Stop.
Okay, I'll stop.